Greetings, my fellow gorehounds, and welcome to the newly remastered version of my top 10 horror films of all time video. As some of you may be aware, this was the second video I ever produced, and as such was really rough around the edges, and in many ways still is. If I were to redo this video now, I'd probably go into greater depth on why I like these movies, but oh well, you know, this hindsight is 2020. But despite that, I did fix the pacing of the video, I did fix the audio balancing issues, and I fixed some of the video quality issues, so it looks better, it sounds better, and it plays better. Unfortunately, I did have to remove Skyhook's Horror Movie as the wrapping song for copyright reasons, but despite that, the video still plays very well, and overall I still think it is the definitive version of the video. So anyway, my fellow gorehounds, enjoy the video, and peace out, and there'll be a new proper Blood Splattered cinema coming to you soon, and I hope you enjoy it.
Greetings and welcome back to Blood Splattered Cinema. Tonight we're going to go on a bit of a detour, as I realized shortly after posting my first video that if people are to take me seriously, they might want to know where my opinions come from. So without further ado, here are my top 10 horror films of all time.
Number 10.
Go ahead. Tie me down to the stake. But you will never escape my hunger, nor that of Satan!
Based loosely on a Nikolai Gogol short story, Black Sunday tells the tale of a doctor who accidentally releases a 2-century-old witch whom immediately seeks revenge on the descendants of those who damned her. Admittedly, the story's a bit basic, but it's definitely not director Mario Bava's focus here. What he's more interested in, and why this film is on my list to begin with, is the style. This film is a direct assault on your senses. The atmosphere will suffocate you. The unrelenting cruelty will offend you. And the sexuality will entice you. Number 9.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Based on a Clive Barker short story, Candyman is about a college student researching the urban legend of the titular Candyman, who, a la Bloody Mary, will appear if you say his name 3 times into a mirror. This film was made in the early 90s, and as such oozes with the racial tensions of the time. This creates a unique tone that few films have managed to mimic, as often the scariest moments won't involve the Candyman himself, but rather the decay of urban environments.
I hear you looking for Candyman, bitch. Well, you found him.
But still, the main reason anyone should see this movie is because of this man, Tony Todd. His performance is so iconic, and every time he's on screen, you just can't help but get lost.
I'm sorry,
in his...
No need to leave yet.
Holy God, that's a lot of bees! And yet... Number 8. Set during the latter half of the Spanish Civil War, The Devil's Backbone is a ghost story told from the perspective of a child left behind in an orphanage while his father went off to fight. I'm not going to go too far into the plot, as it's one of the best aspects of the film. Suffice it to say, this is a story chock full of dark secrets, hidden agendas, and tragedy. The script is so good it probably would have even worked without the ghost. And on top of all that, it is an absolutely gorgeous movie. Every single detail of every single frame was planned out meticulously beforehand. Take, for example, this scene from the beginning of the movie when the boy first enters the orphanage. Director Guillermo del Toro actually had larger-than-life scissors made just so the kid would feel smaller in his new environment. That's the kind of detail I'm talking about. Number 7. This is the second Clive Barker adaptation on the list, though the first to be adapted by himself. Nightbreed is a very personal story for Mr. Barker, as it deals with a man shunned by society and finding his rightful place underground amongst the freaks and creatures of the night. This relates to his own life as a homosexual, but really the metaphor could be extended to just about anybody who's ever felt out of place amongst the normals.
His name is Curtis, and he's a banker, and he's just moved to Edmonton since he got his divorce, and
God, people are f***ing boring.
What I love about this movie is that the monsters are not the creatures hidden in the shadows, but rather the sexually repressed gentleman who takes out his aggressions with the edge of a knife. Hey, who is that guy anyway?
Here's the answer.
Holy crap. It's David motherfucking Cronenberg. That is just all kinds of awesome. Number 6. Carrie White, the ultimate outcast. This Stephen King adaptation is about a girl who doesn't belong anywhere. She's bullied by her peers, mistreated by her mother, and for the most part, ignored by her authority figures. Many people find this film scary because of the revenge that concludes it, but I'd argue against that. What makes this film truly terrifying is not how Carrie responds, but rather how she is treated in the first place.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Much like Nightbreed, Carrie is not the true monster of this film. It's everyone else. Number 5. Perhaps no film in the past 10 or so years has divided the horror community as much as Eli Roth's Hostel. And while it's not without its faults, I for one found it highly effective. The story follows two college students as their sexcapades through Eastern Europe take a nasty turn when they become the unfortunate victims of an underground organization in which rich people pay for the thrill of a kill. I find the juxtaposition of the first half, in which the boys objectify just about every woman they encounter, with the second half, when they themselves become the vessels of someone else's gratification, to be extremely well done and clever.
You know, I just fucked a girl 2 days ago and I don't even remember the color of her tits. But this is something you never forget.
Number 4.
Everybody be cool. You be cool.
From Dusk Till Dawn is one of those very few films where if you know nothing about it going in, you'd have no idea the direction it's heading. At first, it appears to be a witty character piece on two criminals wanted for murder and escaping to the fictional town of El Rey. But at about the halfway point, the movie shifts into one of the most batshit crazy exploitation films you have ever seen. This early Tarantino and Rodriguez collaboration is on the list because it is just pure, unrestrained fun. And sometimes, that's all you need. Number 3. The 1950s and 60s saw a multitude of atomic scare films, but none truly captured the devastation a bomb could have on a nation quite like Ishiro Honda's masterpiece, Gojira. And though I love the prospect of a giant indestructible lizard wreaking havoc upon the world, my favorite character is actually Serizawa, the inventor of the device they used to ultimately defeat the beast. It's his ethical dilemma that I find the most interesting. He knows he's created something that could potentially solve the Gojira problem. However, if it is put in the wrong hands, it could cause worldwide devastation. And in perhaps the most poetic scene out of any movie on this list, he sacrifices his life for the betterment of mankind, taking his knowledge with him. Number 2. Remember earlier when I pointed out who the killer from Nightbreed was? Well, if you didn't know who that guy is, he's the guy who made this movie. The plot's a little hard to follow, but bear with me. Max Wren, a sleazy TV producer, discovers the Videodrome, a station that broadcasts live acts of sadism, and this leads him to a global conspiracy involving mind control and the purging of those the government deems morally corrupt.
Naturally.
This film is insane, packed wall to wall with some of the weirdest and creepiest images I have ever seen. I've watched it probably 100 times by now, and with each viewing I come away with something new. It's simply a work of art, one that transcends the boundaries of genre.
Long live the new flesh.
And my #1 horror movie of all time is... Halloween, the night he came home. The premise is as such. A mental patient who many years before killed his own sister escapes from the asylum and returns to the town in which he lived and stalks a babysitter. There's not much I can say about this film that hasn't been already said 100 times, but regardless, I love this movie for its simplicity. The score is simple, the setting is simple, the plot is simple, hell, even the characters are simple. And yet, director John Carpenter does so many little things that just digs into your subconscious. For example, by making the mask blank and emotionless, the audience is forced to project their own fears onto the face of Michael Myers. And by ending it with Michael Myers disappearing despite being shot and falling off the balcony, it gives the audience that feeling that he's still out there, that he could still get them, and there's nowhere they can hide.
By the way, a little inside baseball, the original version of this video's script had Battle Royale ironically battling for the top spot with Halloween, but I eventually removed it from the script because I just kind of felt like I didn't want to get into the fight over whether or not Battle Royale is truly a horror movie. I believe it is, and as such, it is one of my favorites and would be on this video if it wasn't for that whole debate. So if you're a Battle Royale fan, know that it was at one point on this video, and for all intents and purposes, probably should be. So that was my mistake, and I've been paying for it ever since.